Welcome to the Glenrose Courage Awards. Here is your host from Global News, Su-Ling Go.
Hello, everyone. I sure hope you can see me. It's so nice to be back here. Good afternoon. Honored recipients and special guests, welcome to the 16th Annual Courage Awards presented by the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital and the Glenrose Foundation. We'd like to start by, of course, acknowledging that we are gathered today at the traditional meeting place and home for many Indigenous peoples, including Cree, Anishinaabe, Blackfoot, Stoney Nakoda, Dene, Inuit, and Métis peoples, as identified in Treaty 6 and Métis Region 4 territory. My name is Su-Ling Go. I'm an anchor and the health reporter at Global Edmonton. I'm also a contributing member to the Courage Awards Committee, and I'm very honored to once again be your MC, even though it's virtual. This is one of my favorite events of the year, and I hope that it touches your heart as much as it always touches mine. Now, as was the case at this time last year, the global pandemic has challenged us all, and we've had to find new ways to come together. Although we find ourselves still celebrating virtually, we've put together this special presentation for the recipients, their friends, families, and the community that supports them. The video that you will see was recorded in observance of all COVID safety measures, of course. And we need, of course, to take this opportunity to say a huge thank you to the Ferry family, who have proudly sponsored this event for many years, and they wish to share the following message. I'm going to read you their message. Gino Ferry's appreciation of the work of the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital began 33 years ago when his grandson, Nicholas, was diagnosed with autism. Since then, the Glenrose has become a steadfast source of expert medical advice and care for Nick. He has a good life as an adult with autism, and a key factor in ensuring his stability and success is the medical expertise provided by the Glenrose. Pat, Gino, and the Ferry family understand the courage that it takes to face life with a challenge, and that's why it is our pleasure to sponsor the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital's Courage Award. So let's do a virtual clap for Gino and the entire Ferry family, because we wouldn't be here without them. So thank you so much. Today, we proudly honor the 3 Courage Award recipients for 2021. We have ISABELLE BERUBE, David Apt, and VIVIENNE BARTEE. And we hope that you are, as I mentioned, as inspired by their stories as we are. They are truly amazing. And of course, excuse me, we encourage you to share your reactions to the stories and words of encouragement to the winners in the chat feature here on Zoom. So apparently you just have to click on the chat button and change the option to all panelists and attendees so that everyone can see your message. And then we may share, oh, we've got some claps. I see that on the side there. Good job. And so we'll share some of these messages on social media after today's presentation, if you're okay with that. So please share some, your cheers, your words of encouragement, and let's really pump these people up because they are pretty incredible. So a huge congratulations to ISABELLE, David, and VIVIENNE, and we hope you all enjoy this presentation. Take a look. Courage Reimagined. These are the words that the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital Foundation uses to describe the patients who work every day to relearn life skills and rediscover their full potential. It takes incredible bravery to cope with life-changing loss, illness, and injury. In 2021, due to COVID-19 visitor restrictions, the recipients of the Glenrose Courage Awards, along with all the patients, had to fight their fears essentially on their own in the hospital. Today, we hope that the stories of their bravery and of overcoming tremendous obstacles will inspire you in whatever challenges you may be facing. I was certainly inspired when I met and interviewed the winners for the global news segments you'll be seeing during this program. We'll also share messages from the hospital and the foundation representing the thousands of people who work to assist the patients in their recovery journeys at the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital. Most importantly, you will hear from each of the winners who will share how the Glenrose has helped them to reimagine courage. As the program progresses, we invite you to share your favorite moments on social media using the Twitter hashtag Courage Awards. We also welcome you to tag the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital Foundation. Now, before we meet our recipients, here is Lynette Lutz, Senior Operating Officer of the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital, to share some remarks.
As the Senior Operating Officer for the Glenrose Hospital, I'm honored to welcome you to the 2021 Courage Awards ceremony. In 2020, we moved to a virtual event model for the Courage Awards, and while I look forward to a day in the future when we can safely celebrate together in person, I'm grateful that we could connect virtually again to recognize this year's extraordinary recipients. The Glenrose Hospital is one of the largest rehabilitation hospitals in North America, with nearly 80,000 patient visits each year. Our hospital provides complex rehabilitative care to patients of all ages, with over 100 specialized inpatient and outpatient programs. It's also a teaching hospital where students come to learn from the best, and we are incredibly proud of our research facility, ensuring that innovation is at the forefront of what we do. I've been in my role for just a few short weeks, but I'm already incredibly inspired by the patients I've met and their dedication to recovery. I'm so pleased to take part in today's ceremony and to acknowledge 3 patients who defied odds and overcame every challenge they faced. Their stories are powerful examples of the human spirit, and I'm grateful we get the chance to honor them today. On behalf of the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital and Alberta Health Services, welcome. Thank you for joining us today, and a warm congratulations to the 2021 Courage Award recipients.
Thank you, Lynette. I know many of the frontline staff from the Glenrose and other hospitals or care centers are joining us today. Thank you. We truly appreciate your dedication, courage, and selflessness every day, and especially during this challenging time. All of tonight's winners speak of their care teams being invaluable to their recoveries, and we salute you all here today. Now let's meet the 2021 Courage Award winners. Our first recipient this afternoon is ISABELLE BERUBE. This St. Albert teen figured her biggest challenge heading into grade 9 would be maintaining her impressive grades while continuing to excel in her sports. She then learned she had a brain tumor and had to battle back from a syndrome that stole her ability to walk, talk, and eat. Here's Isabelle with some inspiring words. ISABELLE BERUBE excelled in sports and school. She was ready to tackle grade 9 when she started to feel dizzy and nauseous. It turned out she had a brain tumor.
It was shocking. It was scary. It was unbelievable. It was not Isabelle.
And things got worse. After surgery to remove the mass, the then 13-year-old developed posterior fossa syndrome. She lost control of her muscles.
So she was on a feeding tube. She was mute for almost 4 weeks. She couldn't move.
Isabelle spent last Christmas in the Stollery Children's Hospital. She communicated mainly by blinking.
Usually it was like I would blink like I would want no, and they were like, yes? The red one.
I won't help you. You've got it.
By the time she arrived at the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital, Isabelle could say just a few words. For 7 months, she lived in the Glenrose, working on skills like standing, dressing herself, and eating.
Look at you. Beautiful. Nice.
She has been unwavering in her motivation and perseverance and her positivity with everything.
Because of the pandemic, hospital visitors were limited. Her therapists say despite Isabelle's loneliness and frustration, she was a bright light for everyone.
She was just so pleasant to be around and so gracious and so grateful.
Nice.
11 seconds, but the whole thing was perfect.
Glenrose staff have chosen the teen for a Courage Award.
I'm happy because that's kind of what I am.
She was a trooper. She was very brave, handled it better than I did. I think I cried more than she did.
She keeps fighting and she keeps going. That's just her style.
Thank you for this award. I'm so grateful to the Glenrose. They helped me every single day and pushed me and encouraged me to get stronger and better every single day. So without them, I wouldn't be where I am today, and thank you.
Thank you and congratulations again, Isabelle. Our second recipient of a 2021 Courage Award is David Apt. The 64-year-old Ponoka area farmer was installing a gate when he suffered severe electrical burns. The incident left him with life-changing injuries, but Glenrose staff say he brought his rural work ethic with him to therapies. Here's David's journey and a message from him on this award. David Apt was helping to install a gate when the tractor he was next to got too close to an overhead power line.
And I was the easiest route to ground, so power come all through me.
He was airlifted to hospital, where a doctor told his wife David had severe electrical burns. He might not make it.
And so, yeah, it was just a waiting game to see, how he came through.
David had a total of 9 surgeries, excruciating skin grafts and amputations. He lost his left arm, his right leg, and fingers on his right hand. Surgeons replaced his thumb with his big toe.
Wasn't too bad. They were pretty amazed how fast I learned to use the hand, and the same with the foot.
The trickiest part of learning to use a prosthetic leg was not being able to use his hands to balance himself.
His rehab journey definitely had setbacks along the way. Nothing was straightforward.
Staff at the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital adapted a walker for David, but the prosthesis was hard on newly grafted skin, and his progress was interrupted a few times to wait for wounds to heal.
But he's a farmer. He'd get stuff done and very determined.
He's just a gotta get her done attitude. He would never back down. He was never quit. Showed up every day.
He also encouraged other patients, the few people he could see in person due to COVID-19 restrictions.
By the time I met him and we started to maybe talk a little bit, they went home. And I'd had to find somebody different, and then they went home.
When David went home 6 months after his electric shock, he had a lot of work to do, caring for 7 horses, 43 cows, and 3 bulls, not to mention his family and his wife of 44 years. They both consider themselves very lucky.
A miracle. Yeah, shouldn't have lived. But we're so thankful he did.
I'd like to thank the Glenrose Hospital for this award, and the staff at the Glenrose for nominating me, and the therapists there that did a wonderful job helping me in my recovery, and also all the support I had from family and friends in prayers, emotional support, and in financial support in this. It's been a long journey, and it's still going to be a long journey ahead.
Thank you, David. Before we meet the third award recipient, I'd like to introduce the president and CEO of the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital Foundation, Mark Corthius.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Corthius, and I am the president and CEO of the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital Foundation. It's a privilege to be here with you all today in the company of our courageous award winners, their families, Glenrose Hospital staff, and the community. At the Glenrose Foundation, we proudly fund the advancement of rehabilitative care so that patients and their families can have the best possible outcomes. Donor-funded innovation, programs, and research make life-changing differences to patients during rehabilitation. Thank you to the community of generous donors who support the Glenrose, Alberta's only hospital dedicated to rehabilitation. I'd also like to take a few moments and thank the people who make this event possible. The Courage Awards Selection Committee is made up of former patients, previous recipients, and healthcare experts. The committee reviews all the nominations and has the difficult task of choosing the winners. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you also to Global Edmonton, who has proudly supported this event for many years, including filming and producing the individual segments you see today. Additionally, I would like to thank Global Health reporter Su-Ling Goh, who has acted as the Courage Awards MC for the past 14 years. She also serves on the committee to determine the recipients and conducts all the interviews. Her support truly makes this event possible. Su-Ling was recently announced as a Global News at Noon anchor as well. Congratulations and thank you, Su-Ling. And thank you to all of the Glenrose staff who have taken the time to nominate their remarkable patients. Frontline healthcare workers across Alberta have proven themselves as heroes again and again during COVID-19, and the staff at the Glenrose Hospital are no exception. In addition to the normal flow of patients at the hospital, they are now also managing the rehabilitative needs of patients struggling with long COVID symptoms. My sincere gratitude goes out to all the healthcare workers. Finally, there is a special family I'd like to thank, the Ferries. Pat and Gino Ferry and the Ferry family have sponsored this event for many years, and we are so grateful for their continued support of the Courage Awards. Their commitment to these awards is an amazing example of how instrumental our donors are in transforming lives. Thank you all for attending today, and a big congratulations to Isabelle, Vivienne, and David.
Thank you, Mark. Our final recipient is Vivienne Bartee. Vivienne had lost her daughter, son, and mother in less than a year and was later diagnosed with eye cancer. Despite that devastating time in her life, the Edmonton senior managed to inspire other mental health patients at the Glenrose. Here is her story, followed by some words from Vivienne on receiving this award. Vivienne Bartee says her daughter Deanne will always be her baby. She had severe disabilities, and Vivienne took care of her for 35 years until she passed away suddenly.
There was very little warning. She just went to sleep, and that destroyed us.
3 months later, another shocking loss, Vivienne's son, Gordon. And 3 months after that, her mother, Esther, also died. Vivienne sunk into a deep depression. Daughter Terry Barber says for more than 2 years, her mom was a shell of herself.
I truly didn't know what was going to help. We tried so many things, and you feel helpless.
In the fall of 2020, Vivienne's doctor referred her to the Start Psychiatry Day Hospital at the Glenrose Hospital.
At first I thought, I'm not sure really what they can do for me. I'd rather be home and sitting in the dark and crying.
When we first met Vivienne, she was completely broken up.
Psychiatrist David Rawani and the rest of the START team guided Vivienne through individual and group therapies. But a few months into the program, on the anniversary of Deanne's death, Vivienne was diagnosed with eye cancer. Despite radiation and surgery, she kept showing up and shared a lot with other patients.
I think she was a big inspiration for people to understand that grief is very collective. It's not individualized, and we can always learn from other people's journeys.
I really admired her, her perseverance, her resilience.
Vivienne says hope slowly crept in. She started laughing again.
They don't fix you, but they help you realize that maybe you can fix yourself a little bit. Enough to carry on. See if I can get it straight.
Staff of the Glenrose say it took courage for Vivienne just to get out of bed, and her loved ones are grateful she did.
Made all the difference for our family because without her, we wouldn't be where we are.
I am so grateful and honored for this award, the Courage Award. I celebrate my fellow Courage recipients, Isabelle and David. I've read their stories. They're both inspiring and way beyond courageous. I am honored to be in their company. The Glenrose Hospital has been my home for my whole life. Started there when I was a young child, helping with a neighbor's child learn physio and OT. Spent 35 years in clinics and appointments with my medically fragile daughter. And I was involved with the geriatric rehab program with my mom. And now the Glenrose has rescued me once again with the START program. So that's psychiatric program for seniors who are suffering from trauma, depression, and anxiety. They treat mental illness and physical illness with equal compassion and care. I am proud to be nominated. This is more significant to me than gratitude. The pride is so significant. There was a time when I never thought I'd be proud of anything I did again. And that was a time of gut-wrenching grief and depression when I lost my daughter and my son and my dear mom. I fell into darkness and couldn't see a way out. My husband Vern, my children TJ, Terry, my grandkids, Bailey, Madison, and Noah tried to help, but I was tired of pretending that everything was okay. My very wise family doctor, Dr. Ma, referred me to the START program at the Glenrose, and I was hesitant because nothing else had worked, but I agreed to attend and see how it went. They helped me carefully and compassionately to face my fears, to talk to others about my problems and my darkness, and to acknowledge my despair. And slowly I began to participate and engage, and they carefully showed me that I could get better, be better, restored my confidence, and that I could continue to live and find some balance in my life. During my time at the Glenrose, I was diagnosed with cancer and underwent radiation therapy, and the START program helped me through that immeasurably. And they guided me and let me understand that I did have the strength to overcome one more challenge. I still remain traumatized by my loss, but I do have confidence that I can move on and that I have reason to hope. My future's not certain, as I recently have had another cancer diagnosis, but with the unwavering support of the program and my family, I'll overcome this. My gratitude to the START team is from my heart and my soul. I'll never be the person I was, but I know now that I am courageous.
Thank you, Vivienne. And let's have a huge round of virtual applause for all three of this year's winners. Congratulations.
Hello. I'm just jumping back on here. You know, you think these virtual ceremonies are going to be, you know, just not as, I don't know, maybe not as touching because they're not in person, but then you see these speeches and it's just like, you can't help but get choked up because these are such amazing people. So congratulations to all of you. I was looking at some of the messages that were coming up in the chat, and I hope you get a chance to read these messages because they are awesome. There's so many people who are proud of all three of you, and the words that kept coming up are like incredible, amazing, determined, inspiring, strong. And then Gina Ferry had a particularly nice message about David. She wrote that he epitomizes the spirit that built this province. So that's pretty awesome. Thanks to Mark for the very kind words as well. And a huge congratulations to all of our winners today. You are all very deserving of this award. So thank you all so much for watching and for joining us here today virtually. A special thanks to Isabelle, David, and Vivienne and their families for allowing us to learn from each of you and celebrate your amazing spirit. It's been an absolute pleasure to help in recognizing you today. Thanks again, everyone. That concludes the 2020 Courage Awards. Be well and stay safe, and thank you so much for attending. Congratulations.